We are excited to bring you this brief introduction to Lean Six Sigma. This video will introduce several key principles of Lean Six Sigma as a starting point to better understand how to serve your customers. I'm sure you will be able to relate to many of the examples and see them taking place in your work environment every single day. Take a few more minutes to review the list and then get ready to explore each one in a bit more detail. Good luck and enjoy the journey. Definitions. The first one is about methods and tools. So it's processes and tools to improve processes and reduce variation. I want everybody to underline or circle improve process or reduce variation. So it's all about tools and methods to improve a process or reduce variation. The second one, I think the second one is more of the Jack Welch definition of continuous improvement or Lean Six Sigma. It's a management philosophy. It's a culture that puts focus on the customer and doing things right the first time. Not so much step-by-step methods or tools. It's just a common language, a common culture. So think about your organization. You see the value of everybody, the philosophy, the culture was just, we're always focused doing things right for the customer. We know who our customers are. We know what they want. We're absolutely driven. And we're going to get them what they want the first time, as efficiently as possible. That's a culture. Okay? And then there's got to be the tools and methods that help you do that. So we're going to focus on both of these from a Lean Six Sigma perspective. One of the things that's important as we think about from continuous improvement is we need to make sure we understand and think about the entire process from beginning to end. Think about the constraints or the bottlenecks in the process or the whole value stream. Because if it doesn't do any good for one part of day in and day out, we make choices that are not necessarily what our customers values, but we do it anyway. So that's where Lean Six Sigma can help us think about what are those choices, what are those things we're doing that our customers really don't think are valuable? And then how do we eliminate them? How do we make them more efficient? What can we do different? This question. Can we be really efficient at doing our work, but not be effective?
Absolutely.
Right? We're very efficient. No waste. We get our work done really quickly, but our customers hate us. Right? We don't do a good job. We have a lot of defects, or we have a lot of issues. Okay? So we be efficient or effective. Now the other one, can we be effective? Customers love us, but we are not very efficient in what we do. We can also make that happen too, right? We have a lot of churn. We waste a lot of our resources and energy, but we are going to get the customer what they want somehow, some way. Improvement in Lean Six Sigma is all about just cutting costs. Cutting costs only gets you so far. You can cut costs. Normally what happens, you cut costs too far at the detriment to the customer. And so you have to have this balance of, okay, reducing costs and making things as efficient is important. But if you don't stay focused on your customer and what they want and making sure they're getting what they want, then cutting costs isn't going to do any good. So that's the idea. We got to get away from firefighting. Because what happens is, think about an organization. There are things that will help us drive long-term results in an organization, which are our goals and our strategy. If we are not focused a lot of our attention on focusing on those goals and strategy, we will never achieve what the organization wants. And the reason we don't normally get to what that organization wants is because we spend all of our time focused on doing day-to-day, non-value-added firefighting activities. So the more we can reduce that firefighting that goes on, the more we can stay focused on doing the things that our customer really does want long-term. And that's where Lean Six Sigma can help us, is to make sure we're focusing on the right things. He said that in his experience, 94% of the time when something went wrong, it was the process that was the problem and not the person. So he said, whatever we're doing is exactly the opposite. But a lot of times, don't we do that at work? How many times has your boss ever called you up and said, this problem happened, you got to stop everything you're doing and go fix it right now? When it may have never happened before, it's a one-time thing, and we spend all of our time firefighting or trying to find the solution to that, when you know what? We really shouldn't spend or waste a lot of energy on it. We want to know what happened, but we probably don't want to go change our process because of it. That happens a lot. So one of the things we really want to focus on is making sure we understand the difference between common cause and special cause. Now, common cause, normal variation, should we change our process because of common cause variation in our processes? Maybe. Maybe. It depends on how if your common cause is causing you to miss customer specifications, maybe. But you know what? If it's acceptable variation and it's just normal, then we should plan for it. We should build some, we should make sure that our processes are capable of dealing with that. Now, if our customers don't like it, we need to go do something. Time when you report something or tell somebody something, you tell them as an average. You know, the average time it takes to get to a customer call, the average time you answer a phone call, the average number of good product on a daily, whatever it is. Everything we report and just about everything we do is all about averages. And that is the absolute worst way to report something is in averages. But it's all we do. Because does a customer care about an average? What does a customer care about? The variation, or the statistical term, standard deviation. That's what they care about. Customers don't like variation. But you know what? We don't even report that. We don't even talk about it. So if nothing else out of this class, next time you report something and tell somebody the average, or someone tells you the average, you should say, I don't really care about the average. Tell me how much variation there is in your process. How consistent are you? Because that's the only thing that really matters. Does that make sense? Inflexibility. How many people have processes that are inflexible? You have to do it this way. You don't know why, or think about customer delivery. A customer wants something a certain way, but you can't deliver it that way. And so that's inflexibility. Customers' needs change, don't they? You know what our problem, one of the major issues we're having in corporations today is the world is getting more and more focused on instant gratification, right? We want things now. But most of our infrastructure and our culture and our organizations are not set up to deliver that instant gratification. And that's where we're going to have a major problem, or we are having a major problem, is how do we make that happen? The hardest thing that people do, they struggle with, is they can't define a defect for their job. We just don't think of it in terms of a defect. And so I really want you to go back and think about, what does that mean? Now, the reason we don't think about it is because we don't even know what the customer really wants. If we don't know exactly what the customers want, then we don't even know if it's a defect or not, which is part of the problem. So think about, what is your customer expecting from you specifically, from your company? What are their requirements? What would they say is good or bad? Know it specifically, measure it, so you know what a defect is.
That's the
Is that just me, or is everybody? Keep people right. You don't want a defect for somebody dying, right?
Right.
That is very clear. And you will spend a lot of money and a lot of energy to make sure that that doesn't happen. But the problem is eventually that gets to be way too expensive and very costly, which is part of what our issue is in healthcare today. We're so good at keeping people alive, it's just very expensive. So the only way to fix that is we have to do something different, right? That is one thing we know. Education, we have to do something different. All these processes, whether it's big like that or government. We have a huge government debt issue, right? So there are certain things we have to do different. But it's not just companies, it's also individually. Think about your personal lives. It's the same thing. What's important to you personally? What's a defect in your life? Are we efficient or are we not efficient? And so the principles are exactly the same.